Picture the night of September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas. The image is burned into history. The flash of cameras outside the MGM Grand. The flurry of fists, the white BMW pulling away. The shots that followed, that's the story we know. The loud, public, violent crescendo. But what if the real turning point wasn't outside? What if the domino that set everything in motion fell earlier, in the dead silence of a private room, behind a closed door, with the wrong people in the same building? What if the night's true detonation was prevented? This isn't a new theory, it's a specific, haunting account from a man who was there in the inner circle, former death row bodyguard, Gene Deal, and his version doesn't just raise questions, it rearranges the entire chessboard of that night. It suggests we've been staring at the explosion while missing the fuse that was lit and then almost lit again hours before. Deal's story is an insider's testimony. It's not courtroom proof. It's what he claims he saw, what he claims he heard, the pressure he claims he felt in the air, thick enough to choke on. But here's why you can't just dismiss it. The chilling, specific detail. In his telling,
yes, Pac had got whiffed that Jay-Z was in town. Well, you know he gonna do a show because Jay-Z, he doing a show. But you gotta realize Jay-Z had became an enemy of Pac because I think he had said some shit or was gonna do a song with Big or whatever like that, the whole 9 yards. So Jay is now Pac's enemy. So he gets a phone call saying that Jay is not gonna come out the room because Tupac threatened him. So he's not gonna do his show. Can he make some phone calls, you understand, to get Pac off the bullshit?
The energy in Vegas that night wasn't just East Coast versus West Coast. It was a powder keg of industry politics, money, and raw personal distrust. Tupac Shakur was at the center, volatile, fearless, already convinced people were moving strange around him. And then comes the detail that changes the scene. According to Gene Deal, Jay-Z wasn't just somewhere in Vegas. He was in the same building, not out front, not visible, not part of the show. He was, in Deal's words, hidden, in a back room, private, quiet. And to Tupac, in that heightened state, that wasn't a coincidence. It was a provocation, a sign of disrespect, a target suddenly in reach. Think about that scene. The pressure is peaking. The fight with Orlando Anderson hadn't happened yet, but here, inside, a different confrontation is brewing. In Deal's memory, Tupac wasn't in the mood for politics. He wasn't in the mood for later. He wanted answers about loyalty, about respect, about what he believed was happening in the shadows. And he wanted them face to face, right then. The target was behind that door, the momentum was building, the kind of silence Deal describes, where you can feel the first word before it's spoken, the word that sets the whole place on fire. And then a decision, a intervention that in context is utterly staggering. Why? That's the question that makes this story stick. Why does Suge Knight, of all people, suddenly choose containment? Deal's implication is razor sharp. Suge understood the stakes. This wasn't about a scuffle. This was a collision.
He may have talked to Big D, and Big D and Eric B called Suge, and Suge was laughing, saying that wasn't him, because they tried to make it seem like it was Suge that was doing it, but it was Pac. So I guess Suge called Pac. Pac let him go ahead and do his show and everything like that. But Jay was scared to come out.
A collision between the most incendiary figure in music and a rising, strategically savvy star from the other coast. A collision that would have pulled names, alliances, and behind-the-curtain business into a blazing, uncontrolled spotlight. If Tupac walks into that room and starts talking the way he talked, you don't control the narrative. You don't control what's said when someone feels cornered. You don't control what whispers become headlines. Deal frames it as a near miss of catastrophic proportions.
Come on, man. Yeah, he was scared. Probably still is scared.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And Suge, he told Pac to chill out?
Yeah, Suge told Pac to chill out. You know what I'm saying? Because, see, they was trying to, you got to realize is that it was going to call a dissension because they was trying to start Death Row East Coast.
A moment that would have written a whole new story before the BMW ever left the curb. And that's why this account feels different. It's not just gossip. It's a narrative of management, of pressure being redirected, of a scene being deliberately avoided. It paints the night not as random chaos, but as a volatile situation where certain people were being carefully kept out of the wrong moment.
Who told you this story, if you don't mind me asking?
I was there.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that, man. I didn't know you was there. So you was there when Jay was scared to come out his hotel room. I had no idea, man.
I used to roll with Chaz every day.
This is the kind of deep, contested history we live for here on Behind the Fame. If you're hooked on these untold layers, the stories behind the stories, make sure you're part of this. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss when we pull back the curtain. So, two uncomfortable questions bloom from Deal's version. First, if Jay-Z was staying hidden, what was the specific fear? Deal suggests it wasn't random, it was the fear of the wrong conversation. Of being pulled into the culture's hottest war while still building an empire. Fear of a moment that couldn't be unhappened.
I used to roll with Chaz every day, bro. And then it came out. And then it came out, somebody else told the story. But I think it may have been Dame Dash or something like that told the story.
Second, why was Tupac so laser focused on him that night? Deal implies it was about what Jay-Z represented in that moment, rising East Coast power, industry politics. Pac didn't trust, a symbol of the shifting landscape.
After Suge Knight made that statement, what did Puff do? He got on stage, because if a brick hits you, say ouch. He got on stage and spoke on it. You know, another executive come up here speaking on that. I love Dr. J, I love what they doing. I get Death Row, they props in the whole 9 yards. If he thought he was talking about Jermaine Dupri, why the fuck would he spin and say something right then?
In this light, Suge's "give him a pass" starts to look less like protecting Jay-Z and more like protecting the room, protecting what could be said, protecting what could be overheard, protecting what could be carried outside and weaponized, because once certain words leave a closed door, you can't put them back.
We're in Atlanta that something was bought and he thought I was gonna lie about it because Puff was trying to say it was his and it wasn't his, it was Big's. And you understand? And when he said, and they had made a bet that I was gonna go on Puff's side. So when I got to the studio, I said, nah, Puff, you had that one and Big had that one. And that's what it was.
Deal doesn't stop there. He drags other major names, Diddy, others back into the orbit, not with accusations of guilt, but with suggestions of deeper proximity to the era's tensions than the public story allows. He's not just telling a who was where story. He's telling a how stories get shaped story. How the public sees chaos, while the inside sees a chessboard. And this is where Gene Deal's narrative moves from controversial to explosive, because he doesn't just deal in moods and memories. He hints at receipts.
The tension and beef started between Death Row and Bad Boy.
All the tension started between Puff and Suge Knight. You understand? All the tension came from Puff and Suge Knight. Suge wanted Puff to have Big them do a show. Puff wanted to get paid for Big doing the show. But Suge had did a whole lot of shit, free shit for Puff at one time. Because when Puff used to come out to California, before he could afford security, before he could afford that, Suge used to look out for the cat. Tupac fuck with East Coast and West Coast niggas. How you gonna have nice and smooth out there with him and they from the East Coast? You understand what I'm saying? He with niggas from the East Coast, West Coast, down south, the whole 9 yards. Pac had some shit with him, yeah. But all them niggas had shit with them. All them niggas behind scenes talk shit.
Pause right here. I wanna know what you think. Does this hidden room, this avoided confrontation, change how you see the build-up to that night? Or is it just another layer of rumor? Your perspective is crucial. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's break this down together. He points to a place, a specific, tangible location that instantly sends any researcher into a spiral: Cuba. Let's be clear, this is Deal's claim, his suggestion. It is not verified. But it lands with the weight of specificity. It's not overseas, it's not a friend of a friend, it's Cuba.
Alive and well, Suge Jr. has been posting images of Tupac posing with celebs, saying that the rapper lives in Malaysia now and the Illuminati knows all about it. Meantime, today, Suge himself has been sentenced to 28 years in prison for killing a man with his truck in Compton, California, 4 years ago.
And the second you name a place like that, you invite a dangerous question. If you're making it up, you can be debunked. If you keep repeating it, you either believe there's something there, or you're playing a very deep game. The Cuba angle implies strategy. It implies someone understood the value and danger of information. It implies treating evidence like leverage and storing it somewhere believed to be beyond reach. Random fans don't move paper trails. Random fans don't stash recordings for decades. This points to reach, to resources. To people who knew the most dangerous thing isn't the rumor, it's the proof.
Like Pac having one lung, for example, you know what I mean? Never have his voice again, you know, Pac loved music. I think they had to remove a finger, some shit. Like, I know my son, his pride, he probably wouldn't be able to live like that. You know, she just felt like he fought enough and she decided to, let him go. No one questioned her and said, why did you do it and stuff like that. You know, people just supported her decision.
Now, most stories like this collapse into fantasy, but Deal's persists because it follows a pattern we recognize all too well in the world of fame and power. A private moment almost happens. A powerful figure prevents it. The public never hears the details. The night becomes a simplified public tragedy. Years later, an insider says, you missed the part that mattered. Deal's part that mattered is the quiet before the storm, the managed tension, the avoided chain reaction. And if that's even partly true, it changes how you interpret everything that came after. It makes that night feel less like a bolt from the blue and more like the culmination of pressure that was being monitored, manipulated, and at one critical point, vented. Which brings us to the real cliffhanger. If Gene Deal is willing to frame it like this, publicly naming names, describing rooms, hinting at physical evidence, and pointing toward a location like Cuba, what is he building toward? Naming a place is an invitation. It plants the idea that something could be found, and that's what keeps this version alive, not because it's proven, but because it introduces a missing layer, the private decisions made in the shadow of public violence. So the core question transforms. It's not only who was responsible, it becomes who controlled the narrative afterward, who benefited from the simple story, who had the influence to make sure certain details, certain potential witnesses to that earlier tension stayed off the official timeline. If the room mattered the way Deal suggests, then the aftermath matters just as much. Who left that building unseen? Whose story was already being shaped before the first police siren even wailed? Deal's version, in the end, points to one unsettling idea. The loudest part of that night, the fight, the gunshots, acted as the ultimate distraction. It captured all our attention, all our investigation, all our debate for decades, while the real turning point might have happened in silence. The stories behind the fame are never simple. They're built in rooms we never see. If you're into uncovering these layers, I need to know what you want to explore next. What other pivotal, hidden moment in music history deserves the behind the fame breakdown? Put your request in the comments. Your suggestion might just be our next video. Until then, stay curious, stay critical, and remember, the truth is rarely just a headline.